Samuel, July 30th, 1949. Relationship with the internal world. In saying bad things, you must remember that you are making internal accounts. I should say, after many years in the work, that to say bad things is to invite unhappiness. However, people do not see that what they say or think affects their lives. Suppose all day long you have been taking in impressions negatively, you may be surprised that you feel unhappy or depressed. This simply means that you do not observe that you have been taking impressions in negatively all day long and that produces a bad effect on yourself. Is it not extraordinary that people think they can say, think and behave and feel as they like on the internal side when they already know that they cannot do that in outer life because, for example, they may be arrested by the police for slander? The external world and what happens to it has to do with our first teaching. You cannot go and shoot a man whom you dislike, because the police will arrest you. This work is our second teaching. Now in the work you cannot murder a person in your heart without suffering the consequences. The work is about developing the internal side of you so that it is so governed by the power of the work that you cannot behave badly to anyone in the mind, heart, and soul without feeling a loss of force. We stand between two realities, one given by the senses and the other given by our relationship to higher centers. One is external and the other is internal and, I would add, eternal. It has often been said that this work is to prepare the lower centers for the reception of higher centers. Your lower centers turn you towards life, in their mechanical parts, so that you learn how to catch buses, how to speak, how to read, and, in short, how to relate yourself to external visible life. All this work is about relating yourself to the internal world, which is represented in the diagram by the two higher centers. Here we begin to have a great paradox. You cannot relate yourself to the internal world, which Plato called truth, goodness and beauty, and which the work calls the two higher centers, unless you have made a good relationship to the external world. This is referred to in the work by the term that you must be a good householder towards the external world before you can begin to make a relationship to the internal world. Therefore it is said in the work that unless you are a good householder, which means at least a fairly good relationship to the outer world, you cannot do this work. Suppose you are nothing but a tramp or a lunatic towards the external world. Suppose you have never learned anything seriously, never done a job, and do not know how to earn your own living, then I am afraid that you have not done what is necessary on the side of good householder, and, in that case, if you enter this work, you will tend, of course, to use the work as an escape. About these people, I have not much to say until they accept this and realize it. One has to pay to life by life effort before one can expect to get anything else more blessed. Now I speak to those who have been through life to a certain extent and who are now connected with the work. They are not necessarily in it. If they say bad things, that will increase their inner accounts. I want you to get this distinction very clearly. If you are simply a man, or woman, governed by life and its external events that as your mechanical reactions to them you can behave as you like, you can say what you like, you can feel and think as you like. But the work begins in a man or a woman who is beginning to understand that he or she cannot with impunity think or feel mechanically. Higher centers are near or far according to the inner state of yourself. If your inner state of yourself is one of envy, malice, hatred, bitterness, judgment, your psychological body, that is, your inner state is wet, a sodden mess, and will never conduct the higher vibrations of intelligence and meaning that come from higher centers. That is why the work starts with self-observation, observation of what is going on, observation of what your state is in regard to what is going on in you. This forms a psychological body. The work is about developing this inner relationship to events, i.e., how you take events. If you cannot see that we are simply governed by events, you cannot see that you are driven by life, that is, a machine. You must understand that if you're identified with every event of life, you're in life and not distinct from it. You're in all the feelings that life gives, you're in all its anxieties, etc. You are far away from giving to yourself the shock of transformation of impressions coming in from life. So you must observe how you take in the impressions of life, and transform them through your understanding of the work. Then you begin to hear higher centers.